Evidence: Christ did not die on the wooden cross. All the honor, glory, praise, and exaltation to the King and Queen of the universe, Melchizedek Lisbeth, the givers of eternal life, those who reveal mysteries. The truth is their eternal virtue, their character and expression of love. Greetings to you, my beloved parents, Melchizedek Lisbeth, in that reverent fear that only comes from the unconditional love that you provide to me. Thank you, my beloved parents, because the truth that is in you does not allow the prolonging of the deceit of evil and perverse men, who, guided by their personal, carnal, and diabolical interests, formed the religious empire that has been seen throughout history. These empires formed doctrines contrary to the truth of God, who has always existed. One of these erroneous pieces of information is the act registered as the physical death of Christ on the cross in the 1st century, and which was recorded in the Bible. It says in Micah 5:2, "But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, small to be among the families of Judah, from you will come forth for me she who will be Lord of Israel, and her departures are from the beginning, from the days of eternity." Proverbs 31:29. Many women have done good, but you, Christ Lisbeth, surpass them all. These verses express the manifestation of the Anointed One, the Christ, the one sent by God to fulfill God's plan, which is to save man from death. But as we know, the priests, wise men, and scribes of that time arose having the characteristics of a foolish person who is dominated by their human, animal, and diabolical thoughts, just because what Christ taught seemed too hard for them to take, and reformed all their customs and traditions. The machination of men blinded by envy, traditions, and contaminations did not allow them to accept the truth who was in front of them. They could not see the Father in her. When Christ is presented before Pilate, this official asked Christ certain questions, which were answered, manifesting that she had come into the world to give testimony of the truth. And the key question arises from Pilate: what is the truth? This answer is not registered in the adulterated Bible, nor in the copies of copies, because they all differ. It is clear that they hid the speech that Christ exposed before Pilate. What Christ answered is what she had preached at that time and in all the times that Christ has manifested, because the truth does not vary, it is immutable. She said to them, "The truth is that God is Father and Mother, and is whom you must honor and love in order to live. That she has brought the peace, reconciling the two nations in the mind. That salvation is listening to her so that death is absorbed in order for immortality to be evident and to enjoy eternal life. That the resurrection is rising up to a new life in the mind after dying to the deceitful carnal desires. That the faith of Christ is believing in the plurality of God the Father, Mother, Melchizedek Lisbeth, by whom we are engendered. That the peace is maintaining that reconciliation of the two nations. That joy is obeying God the Father, Mother. That the healing is a consequence of obeying and praising our spiritual parents, Melchizedek Lisbeth. After Christ expressed everything that man needs to hear in order to not die and acquire eternal life, the truth that is unique, irrefutable, unchanging, and there is no other way or expression for man to receive eternal life, they had no weapons to conquer, and each one got away from that place. Then Christ also withdrew from that place. The will of God, Melchizedek, is for man not to die. Much less would he allow his wife to die on a wooden cross. The line penned omits the veracity of the events that occurred at that time, to keep the subsequent generations deceived. But today our Mother Christ Lisbeth reveals them in the light of the eternal truth. These elders and priests were full of anger and envy towards Christ. They were completely blind. From these expressions comes the Sermon of the Seven Words that is repeated by millions of people deceived into thinking that Christ died on that cross, when it has never happened, nor will happen, because God's salvation is not dying. The expression of Christ on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What happens to man is a consequence of their own behavior, of having distanced themselves from the truth, and for not accepting God's mercy and truth, for having rejected her. Today you will be with me in paradise. God cannot contradict His truth. After someone dies physically, there is no existence of them. Their memory is forgotten. Woman, behold your son. Son, behold your mother. This expression was introduced later with the purpose of sustaining the Catholic doctrine of the Virgin Mary. My God, why have you forsaken me? This is a cry of anguish, of abandonment, of a person who does not have God's protection, because they have abandoned the path of truth. Someone who has rejected God's gifts. It is evident that Christ would not say those words, because she has always had her husband's protection. They have always been and will be together. These expressions are to identify a man who did not recognize that he was in the presence of Christ. The manipulated description about the crucifixion has caused millions of people to recognize that physical death on the cross has not saved them. Salvation never comes to them because they keep dying. The revelation of our eternal God, Melchizedek Lisbeth, allows us today to expose the deceit that evil and perverse man established to keep humanity enslaved. The light shines in the face of darkness, and it recedes. It is extinguished, because the hour of the truth has arrived through God's Christ, our beloved Mother, Christ Lisbeth. Beloved parents, thank you for manifesting your truth, for fulfilling your promises, for uncovering the deceit that had persisted for centuries, and that is why I sing your song of victory. For Melchizedek Lisbeth, for Melchizedek Christ Lisbeth, for our Father and for our Mother, your daughter, Gloria of Melchizedek Lisbeth.